This video is sponsored by Seta. Hey, what's going on everyone? Greg here, and with the September event now behind us, that means one thing we are even closer to is Apple's next event, which should be next month in October. And during this event, we are expecting one of the most anticipated Apple products of this year, the 14 and 16-inch M1X MacBook Pro. So for this video, I want to go over everything we expect for the M1X MacBook Pros, including the design, the features, the specs, the pricing, and of course, when you'll finally be able to get your hands on one. First, let's start off with the design, because we are expecting a bigger refresh than usual this year with a reduction in bezels for both MacBook Pros, with the 13-inch size moving up to a 14-inch display, while the 16-inch model will stay the same 16-inch size, but possibly feature even smaller bezels than the current model with a reduced physical footprint. The displays themselves are rumored to have a new mini LED display, which should feature the same specifications as those found on the current 12.9-inch M1 iPad Pro. That means a 1,000,000:1 contrast ratio, 1,000 nits of full screen brightness, and up to 1,600 nits of peak screen brightness when viewing or working with HDR footage. Of course, there's rumored to be some physical design differences to this year as well. We are supposed to be getting a refined MacBook Pro chassis with possibly flatter edges. But the bigger and main differences with these rumored MacBook Pros is going to be a greater port selection than what is offered on the current models, with Apple bringing back some of the ports that they stripped away from the 2015 model. This includes an SD card slot for importing videos and photos, an HDMI port for hooking up to things like monitors, televisions, or projectors, as well as the return of the beloved MagSafe charging port. So when someone trips over your cable, your laptop doesn't whiff off your table while you're typing.
That is a good idea.
Of course, Apple still plans to keep plenty of Thunderbolt USB 4 ports on this MacBook, with current rumors saying there will be 3 of them, which will be 1 less than the current model. But I assume that's because all of the other ports that Apple is planning on adding will take up that additional bandwidth, and I think that's a pretty good trade-off. And while this next part isn't in any of the rumors that I read, I can't help but speculate that looking at Apple's recent M1 iMac design, that this MacBook Pro will also come with a physical Ethernet port cleverly placed in the power brick. I mean, if Apple put that on the M1 iMac and not the MacBook Pro, I just don't get the thinking there. I think that would be a really useful and appreciated feature on these next M1X MacBook Pros. And there's some other upgrades to this MacBook Pro that we've been hearing about, including a improved webcam. Current rumors seem to be suggesting that Apple will be upgrading the webcam from their grainy 720p webcams to a full HD 1080p webcam. And if we look at the M1 iMac, we can see that that has a new 1080p webcam that does a much better job than what was offered in the previous generation of MacBook. So hopefully we get something of similar quality. Now, it's not all additions this year, as we are expecting the MacBook Pro to actually lose a feature that the 2016 to 2020 era of MacBook Pros had, and that is the Touch Bar. Yes, love it or hate it, the Touch Bar is supposedly rumored to be going away this year, and Apple should be bringing back just a standard row of physical function keys. Of course, these MacBook Pro should still come with a physical Touch ID button in the top right corner, but no Face ID on the Macs, at least for this year. Now, while these next external changes to the next generation of MacBook Pros are most welcomed, I think I speak for most people when what we're actually really excited for are more about the internal changes for this year, because we will finally be seeing what Apple Silicon is truly capable of with the release of Apple's first Pro processor for their Macs, the M1X Chip. But before we talk about that, I know you're all eager to upgrade to the next MacBook Pro. But if you're watching this right now, there's a good chance you're already using a Mac. And while new hardware is great, you also need to take advantage of Mac OS and your Mac's amazing power with amazing software. And you can get that all with Seta. Seta is the ultimate way to bring your Mac to its full potential, allowing you to unlock even more features on your Mac, use advanced software, and full-featured apps. Some of my favorites include Paste, which allows you to copy and paste multiple items and get back previous copied items. It's like copy and paste on steroids. You should also check out Tooth Fairy, with its advanced Bluetooth controls that make sure that your AirPods or whatever Bluetooth headphones you're using can always be connected with just one click. And there's also amazing apps on Setapp. For example, I recommend checking out Luminar, one of the easiest to use photo apps and something that I use for my photos and my thumbnails that I feature on this channel. Because Luminar can do advanced photo editing and it features advanced filters and an easy to use interface that can professionally grade and retouch your photos with an advanced AI filter in just one single click. And that is just one of the many full-featured apps that Setapp offers with just one subscription price. And I mean it, that is just scratching the surface, because every app available on Setapp reveals something non-trivial that might have been hard to imagine doing on your Mac before, but easily becomes a reality and gives you a huge and immediate boost to your Mac's productivity. And you don't have to wait for the M1X MacBook Pro to try Setapp, because you can start trying all of these apps today, and you can get a free 7-day Setapp trial by using the link in the description below. And thank you so much to Setapp for sponsoring this video. Okay, now let's get back to the M1X chip. So the M1X chip is rumored to be a big jump up in computing power from the M1 chip in two areas. First of all, we are expecting a big jump up in multi-core performance from the M1 chip, with the M1X rumored to be receiving double the performance processor cores compared to the M1, with 8 dedicated CPU cores and reducing the efficiency cores from 4 to 2. This theoretically could lead to multi-core improvements as high as double of what the M1 chip currently offers, which would make it one of Apple's most powerful Macs yet for either a laptop or a desktop. Secondly, we are expecting the M1X chip to feature a big jump up in graphics capabilities from the M1 chip. This could be in chip designs that go from an either 16-core GPU design, or with rumors saying that Apple could have an additional 32-core GPU option. Either way, both of these rumored GPU changes would lead to a big boost in GPU performance, with at a minimum the 8-core in the M1 being doubled to that 16-core design, which could lead to performance that is rivaling some of the previous dedicated graphics cards found in the MacBook Pros. These chips are so exciting because we will finally get a glimpse on what Apple's true pro-end machines can do with their own custom Apple silicon, and up until now we have only seen what the entry-level computers are capable of, and the entry-level computers already blew away our expectations with their performance gains, and I think a lot of us are expecting these M1X chips to blow us away even more. Now, besides just a better CPU and GPU, we are also expecting some improvements to other specifications, like memory and storage. For the M1X chip, we are expecting memory configurations of up to at least 32 gigabytes of unified memory and possibly up to 64 gigabytes of memory. This should help with the RAM constraints that some power users have felt on the current M1 machines, which are limited to just 16 gigabytes of memory. Secondly, rumors would suggest even higher storage tiers for the higher-end models of the M1X chip, with options to go up to 8 terabytes of internal SSD storage. Okay, now when can you expect to get these MacBook Pros, and how much will they cost? Well, the good news is, if you believe the rumors and Apple's own imposed 2-year Apple Silicon transition timeframe, we shouldn't have to wait too much longer to finally, and I mean finally, see these M1X MacBook Pros, as most rumors and leaks seem to agree that we should see these at an Apple October or at the latest Apple November event. I'm currently leaning more towards October, as we have seen reports that these MacBook Pros have already entered mass production. As for the price, well, I think we are in for some price increases this year due to some of the expensive mini LED components, and while the current 4-port 13-inch MacBook Pro retails for $1,799, I would expect this new 14-inch model to start at $2,000. I would also expect the 16-inch to start at $2,500. These are Pro machines, and Apple has not been shy about raising MacBook Pro prices in the past, especially when introducing a new design. And it would help separate these Pro laptops more from the entry-level M1 machines, but Listen, hopefully I'm wrong on this one and they come out at the same price, or hey, hopefully an even lower price. But yeah, that is the preview of the M1X MacBook Pro and everything we can expect from it. And I hope you're as excited as I am to finally see these things, and hopefully soon. If you like this video, be sure to leave me a like. If you want to see more from the channel, including future coverage of these products, well, get subscribed and notified. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Take care, everyone.